Okay, so new video on how to make my mother's stuffed artichokes. And of course, this recipe is very flexible and changes, but there's some essentials to it. We're going to use Italian seasoning, about a quarter of a cup of grated cheese. This is Pecorino Romano. Those are anchovies, yes, in oil. You want to get the anchovies in oil. And about a cup of breadcrumbs, plain breadcrumbs I'm using because I'm going to add my own seasoning. But here's the deal. You never know what size artichoke you're going to get. And the goal is to try to get breading the stuffing into every single one of those leaves. So who knows how much you're going to need. So I always try to go with about a half a cup for each. But you may, as you're doing it, have to add more. It's always better to have some left over. You can just sprinkle it on the top. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how to prepare the artichokes. So you can see these are beautiful round artichokes. The ones that I saw at Kroger were so scrawny and weak. I had to go all the way to DeKalb Farmers Market to get these, but that's what you want. You want the ones that, as my mother would say, look like little baby heads. Okay, so you're going to need a very sharp knife. You want to hone it really sharp. The sharper the knife, the better to get a nice clean cut. And you want to definitely use that, whatever they call that thing, to make it sharper. You're also going to need a scissor. This is my Cutco scissor that I love. So first you're going to cut off the bottom stem, and you're going to get a couple of leaves on the bottom cut off as well. Okay, and you're going to see it's going to be nice like this. I asked my father once, how do I know how long to cook it? And he made me hold up the artichoke to the phone and go. You know how hollow that sounds? That's good. It's shows that it's got a lot of air inside, and it affects the cooking because you want to see how long. Basically you can estimate it. You can actually test it as you cook. All right, so we cut off the stems. We're going to actually cook these. We're going to slice them down and just kind of get the inner heart of those. That's basically the same as the heart of the artichoke. That's so delicious. So you want to kind of trim off all of this around and get that white part in the middle, and you'll just discard all those old leaves. And you're going to peel off some of these additional leaves on the bottom because you really can't get any breading in those. So maybe just a couple more. That's good. Okay, now you're going to cut the top. You want to get a nice flat one. I would say go down as far as the leaves that are two down like that. You're not going to cut those. Those are the ones you're going to cut with the scissor. And try to cut it as straight as you possibly can. Maybe even turn it a little. If it is a round thing, you're going to see you're going to cut lower than you think. You want to get a nice flat top. I'm not doing such a good job on this one. Hopefully it'll be better on the other one. Yeah, it's not so bad. Yeah, see? It's nice and even. Believe me, it's trickier than I made it look. It came out pretty good, I guess, from experience. Okay, I'm going to just do the other one the same way, but this is basically going to kind of a evenly round, and there's all the leaves inside. Oh, and then the scissor, we're just going to use the scissor to cut those other leaves, any points that are on that the other leaves. And let's get rid of that leaf, that's two. There we go. All right. And so you can see better what I'm doing. I'm just cutting the leaves, make them all even like that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I did want you to see that this one actually was white inside, but sometimes you get these which are a little sharp and pointy. You definitely want to get rid of these that have the pink heads. This actually will cook. You'll be able to eat this. So this one I'm just going to open up like that because we're going to stuff the leaves, but we're also going to put stuffing in here. And on this one, I'm going to actually pull out these because you can't eat these. These have little points on the bottom. So lucky when you get them like this. and there's very few of those. But you want to pull all those out. You can have a nice big hole here in the middle to put the breadcrumbs in. All right, so see, even on that other one, there was some pink when I dug down. But you're going to go down almost to the heart and get those like that. And again, I did about a cup of breadcrumbs that I'm going to now mix with the seasoning and the cheese. But, you know, this one's pretty big. I might even want to add a little bit more breadcrumbs to make sure I fill everything. So I rinsed out the artichokes. I forgot to tell you about. Just kind of rinse to get water in there, but then you're going to put them on a paper towel just to drain. Doesn't matter if they're still a little wet. You're going to be steaming them in the hot with water anyway. But while those are sitting there, we're going to do the breadcrumbs. And that was a 1/4 cup of cheese. But again, these are all estimates based on how took 2 artichokes. You may be making a lot more. Again, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and salt and pepper. Again, you do not need a lot of salt because you're putting cheese in there and you're also putting the anchovies, which is salty. So you're just looking a little bit of salt. You may want to add some later. You're going to taste it as you're cooking the breadcrumbs. Oh yes, we're cooking the breadcrumbs. I'm going to show you that in a minute. And a good amount of pepper. I think I'm going to put another teaspoon. Again, these are not exact measurements of seasoning. You can mix that all up. And then I'm going to show you how you incorporate the anchovies in a second. What you're going to do is you're going to get a pan. You're going to put not just, you're going to put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, but you're going to put, probably for these, because they're so big, I'm going to put 2 anchovies for each. And you want to get at least some of that anchovy oil in there too. So you're going to use olive oil and then the anchovy oil as well. You're going to put about, you know, half the can. I like it. So half the can of the anchovy oil with the 4 anchovies that we're going to cook. So you'll see when I do that in a minute. Okay, so I'm getting this pan warm. Not too hot. I've already, oh, I forgot to tell you, you're going to get about 3 cloves of garlic. This is 2 because one of them was really big, but you know, it's about 1/4 cup. About a tablespoon of garlic. And you're going to, you know, I soak it in the olive oil first, or as you know from my other recipes, I will put the olive oil in the pan and put the garlic in there cold. We're going to simmer that. And again, don't let it brown. Just simmer. And get my wooden spoon. Okay, now see this. You've seen it in so many other recipes I've done, but I'm just going to simmer that, and then we're going to put in the anchovies right into here. Now, the idea with the anchovies is you're going to make an anchovy paste from these anchovies. So you take a little work. You're going to simmer them, you know, in the garlic. There's 1, 2, and this was the secret ingredient that my mother put in, and she would never tell anybody it was anchovies because so many people freak out over anchovies. That she, you know, they would wonder why her stuffed artichoke tasted different than anyone else's, and that was why. Okay, and then like I said, we're going to take a couple of teaspoons of the anchovy oil. Okay, now what you're going to do is you really just have to work this on a low heat. It smells so good. And you're going to just keep breaking down until you have, you know, it's not going to turn into a paste, but you're not going to recognize there's anchovies. You're going to just keep doing that, and you'll continue doing it when you add breadcrumbs. But we want to get that kind of just all broken up as much as you can. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but you want to make a very fine chop on that garlic. And no, I do not believe in crushed garlic. You should definitely chop it, but chop it fine, you know, finer than a dice. But you can see how the anchovies. You can hardly see that there was anchovies there anymore. It's all kind of incorporated into. Now we're going to put in the breadcrumbs. This was a little bit more than a cup that I put in here, so I'm going to... You kind of just have to eyeball it. You saw your artichokes. You're going to put breadcrumbs in each one of those leaves. Like I said, always better to have a little more. I think that's just about right. And now we're going to toast the breadcrumbs in the olive oil, same way we did with the meatballs. This is where this whole technique for the meatballs started. Hey, if it tasted good to toast the breadcrumbs when you made them for the artichokes, certainly they should do that for the meatball. And then you may want to just sprinkle a little olive oil. Always have your olive oil shaker handy, so you can add a little olive oil. You want to fry it with olive oil. Oh yeah, and turn up the heat at this point. You can use a low heat when you're doing the artichokes. The anchovies and the garlic. But then you're going to turn it up again to your toasting temperature to toast the breadcrumbs, and just incorporate that anchovy into that. Again, you may want to add some salt and pepper. You can taste this as you go. It's very delicious, and you want to get it just nice and golden brown like we did with the meatballs. I'm a little bit above medium on this. I just want to show you, I've just been doing this already for about 3 minutes. You're going to keep doing, you're going to actually, like I say, you can smell when the breadcrumbs are starting to toast. And they're going to start turning brown. It's just about enough olive oil in here. I probably put another 3 or 4 shakes of this, but I'm going to put more. Honestly, I don't think you could overdo it with the olive oil. You do want them to be moist. So that's, I shouldn't say moist. You want to show in the breadcrumbs that it's been touched with the olive oil. Again, that's the best way to see. Now you see it's starting to get brown. Hope you can see that in the video. That's where you have to start moving quickly, and maybe you can turn down your heat. You do not want to burn it. As soon as you start seeing those golden brown, you just keep turning it. It smells so good. And until you get a nice golden brown throughout. Okay, so I wanted to show you the how golden brown they are. And they're crunchy. You want to taste it. You just take like a little bit. Make sure it's cool enough. Oh, and it's so delicious. Look at the difference in color. Okay, that's the original breadcrumbs. That's what they're going to look like before you stuff them. So let's get to our stuffing. Okay, so as you're doing it, you are not really doing one leaf at a time. By the time you get up to the top here, you're kind of opening it and dropping it in there because the leaves are overlapping. But as people are eating them, they're taking one leaf at a time. So it gets a little easier as you get more towards the top. Okay, so you can see they're a lot bigger than when I started. They really spread out, and I had just enough breadcrumbs, but there's no reason to not just sprinkle some more breadcrumbs on the top like this. Get them all used up. They won't go to waste. Still some in the plate here. Yes, this is messy, but you see how beautiful they look now. How do we cook these, and for how long? It's really hard to say. You got to figure for an artichoke this size, for the density that it was, heard from the thump, it wasn't that dense, but you want each one of those leaves in the heart to cook. So you put it in a pot. So I'm going to have to pick up the camera here and show you that this is the pot I wanted to use, but I don't know if I'm going to squeeze them in. But you're going to try. I'm going to try to squeeze them in. If I can't, I'm going to have to go to a higher pot, a bigger pot. But you're going to just fill it. Going to fill it with cold water. Or not fill it, just the bottom. You're going to do less than an inch. You do not want that water to be above the first leaf. So if we go back here and we look, the first leaf is, see where it is? Okay, so you want the water to maybe reach, let me use my other hand. You want the water to maybe come up to here. on the first leaf. That's why you're going to tear off some of those leaves on the bottom. Now, if it's a little higher than that, what's going to happen is those leaves are going to fall off. The breadcrumbs and everything going to go into the pot. No big deal. You're still going to have plenty to enjoy. But if you can keep the water there, and how are you going to keep the water there? You're going to put these in there, and you're going to see where the water level is once you put them in, and you're going to just keep monitoring the water. It's going to boil off, so you have to keep checking and keep checking, and it's not going to be a high boil. You don't want to burn the bottom of these. So I'll get them in there and I'll show you. I just realized I forgot to put the stems in there, but it's fine. It's you could always leave these to cook a little longer after you take the artichokes out. You can see you're just going to take all the green off. You're going to try to get to the tenderest part. Kind of judge what it is. That outside is going to be a little stringy. It's going to be more like the leaf, where the inside is more like the heart. So it's not quite taking that whole ring off, but you can kind of get an idea. Part of the bottom. You can even see how the knife goes through it that you get. And then you're going to cut it, I would say, because this one is so thick, cut it into quarters. And you're just going to throw that right into the boiling water on the bottom. This is going to get really cooked well and tender, and it is delicious. The other stem had a lot more. You had to cut a lot more to get into the center, so you got to be careful. You have a little green here, but you want to, have mostly white inside. And this one only cut in half because it was smaller. And I did want to show you that on the boiling water. Well, let me pause this. So you're going to see when you open it, when I opened it to put in these stems, I saw it was boiling a little too fast. So you want to watch for this. You're going to notice this when the steam comes out through the pot, and you want to turn it down. It's going to still be boiling a little, but you want to have the lowest boil you can get. I'm down to a 2 on this thing, if that means anything. So definitely below medium. And, you want to keep that steam going, but without it really boiling too much. And you can see the water is barely covering those stems. So you saw how thick those were. All right, so those are going to steam as well, but they're even actually boiling in the water. So this is not quite ready to put any more water in it. You're going to want to get it down a little bit more before you start adding water. Again, remember, add the water slowly. Try not to stop the boiling, and just a little at a time. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and you can see there's very little water left in there. But they're cooking nicely, they're puffing up. The water is also being soaked into the breadcrumbs, making them nice and moist. So again, you can see some of the leaves are under the water a little bit, and some of the stuffing has gotten out in there, but that's okay. You can have a delicious meal with this artichoke. If you eat one of these, it's definitely a meal, believe me. All right, so I'm down to 2 here. I'm going to turn it back up to 3 to get it to start steaming, and I see the steam coming out. I'll turn the temperature down again. Okay, so it looks like they're done. Here's a leaf I pulled off, you can see, and it's nice and tender. And these stems practically falling apart. They're so tender. And when you eat these, you want to leave a lot of that juice, that condensed water with the breadcrumbs. You eat that with these stems. You'll see it's very delicious. And I'm going to show you what you want to do is you're going to cover this again and leave them until they cool down, until the pot is cool enough that you could actually get your hands in there, because you're going to use like a slotted spoon and your hands to try to keep them all together until you can get them in a plate. You can use a bowl like I used, plate like I used to stuff them so people could eat them, and put the leaves around the side. You might want to sprinkle a little fresh olive oil on top of that too. I'll serve them later. I'm going to let them sit here for a bit, probably a good 15-20 minutes, maybe longer, before I take them out. And I'll show you how we wrap up one of them to freeze. Okay, so I took one out. You see, that's the kind of plate you would serve it in. Again, I kind of like them room temperature. If you want to serve them hot, just really 30 seconds, even a minute in the microwave. That'll get it back to the temperature you want it to be. It doesn't have to be any hotter than that. And, basically I just use a spoon and my hands to grab it and lift it out. You're going to see that kind of coagulates in there, and you have those stems in there. It's really delicious. So I'm going to enjoy that and eat the artichokes later. But I want to show you how to wrap up the artichoke so you can freeze it. Okay, so you can see what I did. I took like a little dish, and I'm going to take that artichoke, I'm going to put it in there, and then wrap it all up with the cellophane. So my dad used to make maybe 5 or 6 artichokes, smaller ones than this. And you'd always, whenever you went to his house, you'd say, "Want an artichoke?" He would take it out. Now, after you take the aluminum foil, you're going to wrap this up. After you wrap it up in cellophane, you're going to wrap this whole thing up in aluminum foil and put the whole thing in the freezer. You then take the aluminum foil off. You pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. If it's a more large one like this, a minute. Of course, if you're worried about having the cellophane around it, it kind of re-steams it. It'll work just fine if you put it in a microwave safe dish. And this way you can have your artichokes whenever you want them. Enjoy!